Welcome to the Property Playbook. My name is Andrea Robson with Motor and Realty, and I create this platform because I believe that in order to win in real estate, you have to have a game plan. Today, I'm with William Bryant with WT Bryant Appraisals, and he's going to give us this step-by-step process of appraisals and how it works and what you need to know as a buyer and seller in today's market. Hello, William. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for asking. I do want to just go ahead and get things started, but also, this is a playbook because I love football. Who's your football team if you watch it?
I'm a diehard Dallas Cowboys fan.
Oh my gosh.
And there will be no bashing today during this podcast.
I don't have to bash because they do it to themselves.
There will be that's strike one. Strike one.
I'm a Philadelphia Eagle fan. That's interesting.
You're an Eagle fan?
You think? Yes. Go Birds.
Okay.
All right. I won't put that against you, though.
Okay. All right.
That's funny. Okay, let's just get into it. Okay, so the first question I do want to ask you is, how is the appraisal process? Like, can you tell me kind of an overview of how appraisals work?
Well, there are a lot of cases in where it kind of comes across differently. Mm-hmm. The normal case is when you're using a lender, and a lender has a firewall, which they're using either an AMC or they have like a panel or somebody who's managing a panel. So usually I'll get my orders from the panel manager or the AMC, and they'll send me the order directly through email or text.
Okay.
That's when you're dealing with lenders, such as banks and stuff like that, and you're doing a mortgage.
Okay.
I do other appraisals like divorces and estates and stuff like that as well. And I get a personal phone call from individuals who want to hire me to do those type of appraisals.
Okay. So you will receive your orders from a lender.
Yep, and they'll tell me what kind of appraisal it is. It can be an FHA, it can be an exterior drive-by, it can be a review, it can be a regular conventional appraisal, and they'll tell you the scope of work, which is the things that they look for in the appraisal, and they'll also tell you what the fee is going to be or what their projected fee is going to be, and you'll have to accept the terms.
Okay. So you get the terms from the lender. You go out, you do your
I go
appraisal,
out and do the inspection.
Your report, yes.
Yeah, so the inspection is when you go out to the house and you look over it and you have to measure it and you look at the features and hopefully before you go out there, you'll take a small snippet of the comparables that are in the area.
Okay.
And you want to take pictures of those as well.
Okay.
So when you go out to the property, you're looking for condition.
Yes.
Things that might be in need of repair to the eye, because although I'm not an inspector, I do look at things that may need to be done, and I'll determine what kind of condition rating I'll give you, considering what kind of shape the property's in, if that makes sense. So, like I said, I'll measure, and I have to go through every room, take pictures of every room, and I notate what kind of updates you may have, considering like kitchens and baths. And I'll try to have a conversation with the homeowner before I leave. What kind of updates have you made in the last 10 years?
Okay.
And because there is a place on the report where I have to say what kind of updates have been done,
yes,
and how recent are they.
Okay.
And that does go into the valuation of the property.
Oh, it does. It does. Okay, so are there certain types of upgrades that will increase the value of a home?
Like off the top of my head.
Yeah, if you could choose like 3 areas.
Starting off, anytime you extend the footprint of a home, whether it's going up or out, it's giving you more square footage, it's going to increase the value of the house. I would suggest that you get it permitted through the county to do that stuff. That way it's registered, and when I go out there to look at it, everything has been permitted and it's passed, and you have the CO and everything for it. Also, if you do extend like your sunrooms or just another bedroom and bath. So once you extend, you got to think of it like this. I'm going to give you credit for just the square footage, which is the GLA. But when you make it like a bath, that's an additional value that you get because it's a bath.
Because there's
a certain line that you have, and if you add in a bathroom, you add in not only square footage, but you're also adding the value of the difference in having another bath against another comparable that doesn't. If that makes sense.
Yes.
So those type of things like pools, they matter.
Pools matter.
Yes.
You hear things all the time where it's like, if you're going to sell your house and you want to add a pool, like not to do that because you're not going to get the same amount of value you put into it.
Now, that is correct.
Okay.
So I said they matter, but anything you do, we're in a market now where it's kind of come down some. Before COVID, we were dealing with things that somewhere between 10 and 25 cents on a dollar, where that was the credit that you got for any kind of addition or anything you did for a house. Then we went through the whole COVID thing where it was crazy.
Yes.
And you were getting what you paid for with your addition and then some, probably sometimes. So I think things have kind of tapered off and they're coming back down now, and that's just not the case now. Where exactly that number is now, it just depends on where you are. But it's definitely not the full value anymore in most cases.
Okay.
But pools, you do get credit for them. Outbuildings have to have a permanent foundation before I can actually include it. And the way I look at it, if I can bring something in, pick it up and take it away, then it's not on a permanent foundation. I don't want to do that. So that's the way we look at outbuildings, your porches, your
like back decks,
all those type of things. There's a line for that, so I'm able to add that in. And if it's an addition, I always ask, how much did you pay for it? And if you do have the receipts, and I take all that in consideration because all decks and all additions are not the same. Some of them have more value than others because some of them have more high-end, quality materials used when you do them. So that makes a difference.
Okay. So for the people who are like, okay, we're not going to add like a deck or we're not going to add like a different room, is there certain things like in a kitchen that they can upgrade? Like, does the quartz countertops really matter versus quartz versus granite? Or if I want to revamp my bathroom, like things like that, does that really matter? Do you take that in consideration when you're doing like appraisals?
Sure. So quartz, there are different types of quartz and there's different types of granite. So granite is still out there. How much of it is out there, I'm not sure, but it's still out there. I still see it. And people are still using it as, in newer property. So, that's still out there. Quartz, quartz is kind of tricky because quartz to me can be a lower grade than granite sometimes. I've seen quartz and it just doesn't come across as the high quality. And when I go back and look at what somebody paid for it, it depends on what type of granite it is. The quartz is cheaper because the quartz is sometimes they make quartz. So, granite it's the rock itself. It's the rock itself and they're shaping it for you.
Okay.
So it's totally different. Then you have things like marble. People using that sometimes in higher end places.
Yeah.
So you take that in consideration and you have to make sure that your appraiser knows what he's looking at because there's a totally difference between granite, quartz, and marble. And that's the same thing with your flooring too. The difference between LVP, actual hardwood, ceramic, carpet, all those other things that factors in what you want evaluation of property.
Yes. So do you think it's worth it to replace the carpet with floor like LVP? Or if the carpet is nice, you don't have to do it, LVP gives you a cleaner look. Yes, it does.
And it's an in thing now because of the lack of work you have to do to it once you put it down. There's no getting your carpet shampooed or anything like that.
Yes.
You don't have to worry about any kind of scratches or stuff like that. So all that stuff matters, and it's what I would call it's an update because it's what's in now.
Yes.
And we have to, as appraisers, I try to make sure that I know what the trends are and what people are putting in their houses because it makes a difference when somebody comes to buy it because if it's an update, then it's going to sell faster than a property that would lack
without
updates.
It. Okay. Oh, that's good to know. Okay, so I do want to touch back on what you brought up, you said comps, which are comparables.
Mm-hmm.
So can you elaborate a little bit about comparables? Like, how do you use comparables when you're appraising a home?
Location is the first thing that I look at.
Okay.
So in an ideal situation, which is best case, there's a house next door that just sold, and it's just like
lovely?
this is just like the house I'm doing.
Isn't it lovely?
And it is a wonderful thing, and that's what this house is
what we're
worth.
looking at.
That's what this house is worth.
Yes.
And so, but that's not the case.
Yeah, it's pretty rare.
Yeah, it's pretty rare.
Sad for me.
So what we do, we do look at the location. So whatever we can find, that's the closest.
Okay.
And the most similar.
Okay. Similar.
And that's similar as in the house that you are appraising. And when I say similar, there's a lot of things that go into what I say similar. Similar is square footage, quality of construction, the condition. And when I say condition, I don't want to compare a house that's just been renovated to a house that doesn't have any updates at all, because they are totally different in value.
I understand.
I mean, some of those can go a difference of over $100,000. Just depends on how big it is or where it is. So I mean, and that's one of the misconceptions of appraisals, as you know, somebody thinking just because this house sold, it's been renovated, that's what my house is worth now.
Hey.
And it's not.
I hear it all the time.
It's not. So,
I hear it all the time.
So when I'm doing appraisals, I'm looking at those things. I'm looking at the similarities, and in a lot of cases, I have to go further out, which is fine. And you have to explain that in the appraisal when it comes to a lender.
Okay.
You have to go out further because you are still looking for similar
home.
You got to, because in an appraisal they want us to make sure. They want us to cover everything. They don't want us to make straight line adjustments, which are, you know, say if a property has a pool, the subject has a pool.
Yes.
They don't want me to have 4 comparables and all of them don't have pools, and I'm giving a positive adjustment for all of them. So I have to bracket it and make sure one of my comparables have a pool. The square footage, I have to make sure that I put in there where one is smaller and some are bigger. Baths the same way, either the same, less, or more, things of that nature. So, you know, we have to make sure that we are bracketing everything, and that's where I guess it's the fun comes in when you're trying to choose comparables, because you got to make sure not only are you getting the value right, but you're also satisfying the lender and their scope of work recommendations.
Okay, so what if there aren't any comps?
There's always comps.
There are always comps.
There's always comps.
Oh,
I think so.
I think so. I mean, sometimes.
I mean, so for me, I say it's always comps because I'll go further out to find the comp that I need.
Okay.
Sometimes, you know, they say we're in a suburban area, unless you're downtown, you're urban. They don't want you to go out using no more than about 2 miles, and if you do, you have to explain it.
Okay.
But some properties are custom, and there's nothing that's in the area that's like it. Yeah. So you have to go further out.
Okay.
And then some people or some lenders will be okay with you going further back, which is more than a year.
Oh,
it just depends on how unique the property is.
Okay.
And you can pretty much, if you know, you can't use every comparable every comparable can't be old, or every comparable can't be 5 to 10 miles out.
Right.
But if there is one that's 5 to 10 miles out that's really similar to your subject, and it really fits the subject the closest than any other one, you go get it and you use it. The same thing with the ones that sold over a year ago. But you have to make those adjustments as well, because if you're going further out, it's probably going to be a location adjustment. You have to explain that, because the location of the other property could be worth more. And when I mean location, I mean like site value, maybe, because there's differences between, like, say, like in the Charlotte area. Yes. Dilworth, Myers Park, Cotswold, things of that nature. So if I'm going in these areas, I have to make an adjustment for location.
That's correct.
And I'm going in these areas because they're similar, but there may be a small difference in where the location is and the value that the location is contributing to the property.
Okay. I can get
that. If that makes sense.
No, I can get that. I understand.
So, you know, and in some of these areas, you know, you have a property that's, you know, on one street, and like a couple of blocks over, you might have to make a location adjustment because that street is bringing more value, and that's just the way it is in some of these areas.
Okay, especially in the Dilworth.
Yeah, my part.
Especially in that area.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
So, have you came across a situation where you appraised a home and the seller didn't necessarily agree to the home being appraised at that much, or they thought it was a different amount, and they say, no, because I did this, that, and the third to the home. Like, I put in a lot of work into the home. Can you redo the appraisal? Do you do that? Or like, no, it's what it is?
So it depends on the situation, but most of the time, that's what we call a reconsideration of value.
Okay.
And when you're dealing with mortgages and lenders, excuse me, there's a way to do that. With the reconsideration of value, there has to be, it's for me personally, because appraisers do things differently.
Okay.
For me, it has to be something that I did wrong or something that I didn't see or overlooked. So the best way to do that is to, for the person that's giving requesting the reconsideration of value, to actually give me the information that they think I missed.
Okay.
And that could be whether just make sure that you saw this, that, if I missed like part of the house that was renovated, that's not on there, because there's a section on the report that clearly asks, has the baths or the kitchen been renovated or remodeled, and it's up to 10 years, and there's a box to check, and that needs to be filled out because that stuff makes a difference.
Right. Okay.
And if there's a property out there that's a comparable, and yours has been updated and that property hasn't, and you make an adjustment, then that's something else that you can say. If there's a comparable that I missed, that I didn't include in the report, you can send that as well, and I'll reconsider it with that. But all of that goes to the lender, because the lender is the only one that's really supposed to be communicating with me, and they're the ones that will send it to me. So you have to just follow that chain of people you have to go through to get to me. But yeah, I'll look at it, and I've made changes before, because you know we all don't get it right the first time.
Right.
So
it happens.
So
yeah,
it happens. We all don't get it right the first time. At the end of the day, I want to get it right.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
This was great information for Cowboy fan. Was that number 2?
2.
I do want to let the people know. How can they get in touch with you in case they need to have their home appraised? Well,
I have a website, and you can contact me. You go look up W.T. Brown Appraisals, LLC. I'll also have an email address, wtbrown@wtbrownappraisals.com. And some people call me directly. My phone number is 704-968-4842. I try to answer my phone all the time.
Yes.
And because you never know what somebody may need or question they may have, and I'm out there to try to help people. So.
All right. Thank you so much, William. This was great. I really learned a lot of things myself that I can share with my clients.
Sure.
So, and if you are in the market to sell your home or buy in Charlotte, North Carolina, feel free to contact me, and I will see you next week on the Property Playbook.